You've met them at work, in your social circle, maybe even in your own family. On the surface, they're charming, successful, and impossibly confident. They have this magnetic pull that makes you feel like the center of their universe. But underneath that polished exterior, they might be playing a completely different game, with rules you don't know and a cost you can't imagine. What if I told you that some of the most dangerous people in the world don't look dangerous at all? Today, we're unmasking the Dark Triad. You've probably heard the terms narcissist, psychopath, maybe even Machiavellian. They've become buzzwords we use to describe a toxic ex, a terrible boss, or a manipulative politician. But this casual use blurs the lines, creating a fog of confusion around what these personalities truly are. The real danger in this confusion is that it leaves us vulnerable. When we can't accurately identify a threat, we can't protect ourselves from it. These aren't just simple quirks or flaws. They're complex, destructive psychological patterns that can leave a trail of emotional, financial, and even physical devastation. This video is your guide through that fog. We are going to dissect the 3 core personalities that form this toxic cluster: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. The term Dark Triad was first published in 2002 by psychologists Delroy L. Paulus and Kevin M. Williams, who saw that while these 3 traits are distinct, they often overlap. They all share a chilling core of manipulation, selfishness, and a profound lack of empathy. We'll explore each trait, moving beyond the stereotypes to understand their core motivations, their signature moves, and the psychological engine that drives them. Think of this as a deep dive into the minds of the social predators who walk among us. We'll look at how they operate in relationships, how they climb the corporate ladder, and the devastating impact they have on everyone they encounter. This isn't about diagnosing people from a distance. It's about empowering you with knowledge. Understanding the playbook of a manipulator is the first, most crucial step in refusing to play their game. By the end of this video, you won't just understand the profound differences between these personalities. You'll also be better equipped to recognize their tactics and shield yourself from their influence. So, let's step into the shadows. The narcissist, the grandiose shadow. To really get the narcissist, we have to go back to ancient Greece and the myth of Narcissus. He was a hunter of unparalleled beauty, but he was cruel and dismissive, breaking countless hearts. As punishment, the gods led him to a pool of water where he saw his own reflection and was instantly captivated. Unable to tear himself away, he stared at his reflection until he wasted away and died. This myth captures the essence of the narcissist, an all-consuming self-love that leaves no room for genuine connection with anyone else. At their core, a narcissist has an inflated sense of self-importance, a desperate need for admiration, and a startling lack of empathy. They truly believe they are superior, special, and deserve only the best. This isn't just high self-esteem. It's a deep-seated belief in their own perfection. But this grandiose exterior is a facade. It's a mask, hiding a deeply fragile and insecure self. A narcissist's self-worth is entirely dependent on external validation. They need a constant supply of praise and attention, often called narcissistic supply, to keep their self-image from collapsing. This makes them hypersensitive to criticism. A minor slight that most people would shrug off can feel like a profound attack, often triggering what's known as narcissistic rage. This rage can be explosive and terrifying, or it can be a cold, calculated campaign of punishment. It helps to know that narcissism exists on a spectrum. On one end, you have the grandiose or overt narcissists. These are the classic stereotypes, extroverted and shamelessly self-promoting. They dominate conversations, boast about their accomplishments, and openly act like they're better than everyone else. On the other end is the vulnerable or covert narcissist. These individuals are harder to spot. They still have the same core of entitlement, but it's hidden under a veneer of victimhood or anxiety. While the grandiose narcissist says, "I am the best," the covert narcissist says, "No one understands how special I am or appreciates my unique suffering." They manipulate through guilt, playing the martyr to secure your attention. In relationships, the pattern is tragically predictable. It starts with love bombing, where they shower you with attention and praise, mirroring your interests to make you feel like you've found your soulmate. But this isn't connection, it's data gathering. Once you're hooked, the devaluation begins. Compliments are replaced with put-downs. They withdraw affection, create chaos, and make you feel like you're the problem. You'll find yourself constantly trying to get back to that perfect beginning, not realizing it was never real. Finally, when they've drained you or found a new source of supply, they discard you, often abruptly and cruelly, leaving you shattered. In the workplace, a narcissistic boss can be just as destructive. They are masters of charming their superiors while exploiting or bullying their subordinates. Let's imagine a boss, Alex. He starts out as a dream manager, dynamic, full of ideas, and he praises you publicly. But after a few months, the cracks appear. You pour your heart into a project, and in the big presentation, Alex presents it as entirely his own work. When you gently bring it up later, he becomes icily defensive, questioning your loyalty and calling you too sensitive. From then on, he micromanages your work and criticizes your ideas, all to keep you insecure and maintain his superiority. Ultimately, everything a narcissist does is to prop up their fragile ego. Their grandiosity isn't a sign of strength, but a desperate defense against a terrifying inner emptiness. Understanding this doesn't excuse their behavior, but it does explain it. The narcissist is trapped in their own reflection, forever seeking validation because there is nothing solid within. The Machiavellian, the master puppeteer. If the narcissist is defined by their ego, the Machiavellian is defined by their strategy. The name comes from Niccolò Machiavelli, the 16th century Italian diplomat whose famous book, The Prince, is a ruthless guide to holding on to power. Machiavelli argued that to succeed, a ruler must be cunning, deceitful, and amoral, famously stating that the ends justify the means. This philosophy is the blueprint for the Machiavellian personality. At its heart, Machiavellianism is marked by a cynical worldview, a disregard for morality, and a mastery of calculated, strategic manipulation. Unlike the narcissist, who needs admiration, or the psychopath who seeks thrills, the Machiavellian just wants to win. For them, life is a grand chessboard, and other people are merely pawns to be moved and sacrificed to achieve their goals. A key trait of the Machiavellian is their emotional detachment. They aren't prone to the hot-headed rage of a narcissist. Their actions are almost always cold and pragmatic. They see emotions as weaknesses to be exploited. They are patient, long-term planners who might spend months or even years subtly undermining a rival, all while maintaining a convincing facade of friendship. Their toolbox is full of subtle manipulation. They are masters of flattery, spreading disinformation, and using secrets to create false intimacy, only to use your secrets against you later. They operate with plausible deniability, structuring their schemes so they can always claim innocence if caught. In personal relationships, Machiavellians don't form bonds. They form strategic alliances. A relationship is judged by its utility. Does this person improve my social status? Can they connect me to influential people? The moment a person is no longer useful, the Machiavellian detaches with a chilling lack of emotion. The relationship was a transaction, and the transaction is now complete. The modern workplace is the Machiavellian's natural habitat. They are the ultimate office politicians, climbing the corporate ladder through shrewd maneuvering, not necessarily hard work. This mindset is reflected in modern challenges too. For instance, recent studies have found that individuals with high Dark Triad traits, especially Machiavellianism, are more likely to use AI to cheat on academic assignments. It perfectly illustrates their worldview. The goal is the good grade, and the method is irrelevant as long as they achieve it. Let's imagine a colleague, Brenda. When you join the company, she's incredibly friendly, showing you the ropes. You see her as an ally. When a big promotion comes up, Brenda helps you, suggesting some edgy ideas for your proposal that end up backfiring and making you look reckless. At the same time, she's sowing seeds of doubt with your main rival. In the end, Brenda, who submitted a safe proposal, gets the promotion. She comes to you afterward, feigning sympathy, and you're left feeling like you failed on your own, never realizing she orchestrated the entire thing. A real-world example of this calculated deception is Bernie Madoff. While many analyses point to Madoff having a blend of dark traits, including high levels of psychopathy, his decades-long Ponzi scheme showcases a profoundly Machiavellian strategy. He cultivated an image of a trustworthy genius, not through impulsive acts, but through a sustained, systematic campaign of deceit. His actions were driven by a cold, pragmatic desire for wealth and power, a hallmark of the Machiavellian mind. The psychological core of the Machiavellian isn't a fragile ego, but a cold, hard pragmatism. They aren't evil in their own minds. They're simply playing the game of life with what they believe are the real rules. They are the puppet masters, always watching, always planning, and always one step ahead. The psychopath, the apex predator. Now we arrive at what many consider the darkest trait of the triad, psychopathy. If the narcissist is consumed by their reflection, and the Machiavellian is a master of the chessboard, the psychopath is the apex predator of the social world. They are defined by a chilling mix of callousness, impulsivity, antisocial behavior, and a profound lack of empathy and remorse. The most terrifying aspect of the psychopath is their emotional emptiness. It's not that they don't understand emotions intellectually, and they are brilliant at mimicking them, it's that they do not feel them. Love, guilt, and fear are as foreign to them as color is to a person born blind. This void allows them to inflict pain without a flicker of remorse. A narcissist might hurt you in a fit of rage, and a Machiavellian might hurt you as a calculated move. A psychopath might hurt you simply because they're bored. Neuroscience is beginning to shed light on this emptiness. Studies have shown that individuals with high psychopathic traits can exhibit reduced gray matter in parts of the brain associated with emotion and social interaction, such as the orbitofrontal cortex, amygdala, and hippocampus. This suggests their lack of empathy may be rooted in their very neurobiology. When we hear psychopath, our minds often jump to serial killers. While many violent criminals do score high in psychopathy, not all psychopaths are in prison. Many flourish in mainstream society as successful or corporate psychopaths. They use their fearlessness and charisma to climb to the top of business and politics, wearing what psychologist Hervey Cleckley called the mask of sanity, a perfect facade of normalcy hiding the void underneath. In their behavior, psychopaths are a paradox of charm and cruelty. They can be incredibly witty and engaging, a tool they use to disarm potential victims. They have an uncanny ability to spot and exploit vulnerabilities in others. Their lives are often parasitic. They live off others, borrowing money they never intend to repay, and using people for resources and stimulation before discarding them without a backward glance. Because they lack a conscience and have a high tolerance for risk, they're drawn to thrill-seeking and impulsive behaviors. This is a key difference from the meticulous Machiavellian. A psychopath might sabotage a colleague on a whim, while a Machiavellian would only do so if it served a strategic purpose. A relationship with a psychopath is catastrophic. The beginning is a whirlwind, romance intense and exciting, but it's all an act. They are incapable of love. They see partners as objects for entertainment or money. Let's imagine you meet Chris. He's the most exciting person you've ever known. But soon, red flags appear. You find yourself loaning him more and more money. You catch him in elaborate lies, but he's so convincing he makes you feel like you're the one who's crazy. One day, you discover he used your credit card to fund a trip with someone else. When you confront him, there's no apology, no shame. He just stares at you with cold, empty eyes and says, "You shouldn't have left your wallet out. You realize you were never a person to him, just an opportunity." The psychological core of the psychopath is a void. They operate on a completely different moral framework from the rest of us. They are predators in human clothing, driven by a need for stimulation and power, unburdened by the emotions that govern our world. The overlap and the difference is a comparative analysis. Now that we've looked at each trait, let's see how they connect. The Dark Triad exists because these three personalities, while distinct, share a malevolent overlap. At the center of it all, you find the common ground that makes them so destructive. This shared core has a few key components. First is a profound lack of empathy. Second is duplicity. All three are masters of deceit. Third is antagonism. They see the world as a competition, not a place for cooperation. This is why personality research consistently finds that the strongest common link for all three traits is low agreeableness. They are fundamentally takers in a world of givers, but the differences between them are just as important, because their primary motivation is unique. Understanding that motivation is the key to telling them apart. Let's boil it down. The narcissist's core motivation is admiration. Their internal monologue is, "Look at me, admire me, acknowledge my superiority." Their manipulation is all about feeding their ego. They crave the spotlight. The Machiavellians' core motivation is utility. Their internal monologue is this useful to my long-term goals? Their manipulation is strategic and calculated. They prefer to work from the shadows. The psychopath's core motivation is stimulation. Their internal monologue is, you are an object for my entertainment. Their manipulation is often impulsive and predatory, aimed at relieving boredom. They don't care about a long-term plan, only the thrill of the hunt. We can also compare them on a few key axes. Impulsivity. The psychopath is highly impulsive. The narcissist can be impulsive, especially when enraged. The Machiavellian has very low impulsivity. They are patient planners. Need for attention. The narcissist has an insatiable need for attention. The psychopath is largely indifferent to it. The Machiavellian actively avoids the spotlight, preferring to manipulate from behind the scenes. Strategic planning. The Machiavellian is the master strategist. The narcissist plans mainly for self-promotion. The psychopath is a poor long-term planner, focused on short-term gains. It's also important to know that a harmful person can be a blend of these traits. A true dark triad individual might have the narcissist's charm to draw you in, the Machiavellian's mind to exploit you long-term, and the psychopath's lack of remorse to feel no guilt. They are the ultimate social predators, equipped with a devastating psychological arsenal. The fourth horseman, the rise of the dark tetrad. For years, the dark triad was a powerful framework. But recently, researchers felt something was missing. They saw a type of cruelty, not fully explained by the original three. This led to the proposal of a fourth trait, turning the triad into the dark tetrad. That fourth trait is sadism. Sadism is the tendency to derive pleasure from the suffering of others, while the other three might cause suffering as a byproduct of their goals. For the sadist, suffering is the goal. A psychopath might step on an ant without noticing. A sadist kneels down and pulls its legs off one by one for the enjoyment of it. Sadism was proposed because it predicts cruel behavior even better than the other three traits. It's the difference between being indifferent to pain and actively seeking it out for gratification. This is especially relevant in our digital world. Researchers have found a strong link between sadism and internet trolling. The person who spends hours leaving vicious comments on a stranger's post, not to win an argument, but for the thrill of causing emotional pain, is exhibiting everyday sadism. How does sadism differ from the others? Sadism versus psychopathy. This is the key distinction. A psychopath is indifferent to your suffering. A sadist is gratified by it. The psychopath's heart rate might stay flat while harming someone. The sadist's might increase with pleasure. Sadism versus narcissism. A narcissist can be cruel in a fit of rage, but the cruelty is a means to restore their sense of superiority. A sadist doesn't need a trigger. The cruelty is an end in itself. Sadism versus Machiavellianism. A Machiavellian might be cruel if it's a calculated step in their plan. A sadist engages in cruelty for its own sake, even with no strategic advantage. The dark tetrad gives us a more complete picture of malevolence. It acknowledges that for some people, cruelty isn't just a tool or an accident. It's entertainment. It adds a final, chilling dimension to our understanding of the dark side of human nature. We've journeyed through some of the darkest corners of human psychology. We've seen the narcissist chasing their reflection, the Machiavellian puppeteer, the psychopathic predator behind a mask of sanity, and the sadist who finds pleasure in pain. The point of this isn't to make you paranoid. It's to make you prepared. These personalities thrive on our confusion and our good nature. By shining a light on their methods, we take back our power. You cannot change a person with these traits, but you can change how you interact with them. You can learn to recognize the red flags, trust your gut, and set firm boundaries to protect yourself. Knowledge is your shield. This brings us to a final, complex question. Do you think people choose to be this way? Or is it something they can't control? Is it nature, nurture, or a conscious choice to embrace the darkness? If this video helped you, please give it a like and share it with someone who might need to see it. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into the human mind. Most importantly, we want to hear from you. The comments section is a community. Have you ever encountered a dark triad or tetrad personality? You don't need to share identifying details, but sharing your experience, the red flags you missed, the tactics used, and how you found clarity could be incredibly helpful for someone else who is currently lost in the fog. Your story could help them feel less alone. Thank you for watching. Stay aware and stay safe.